21 Black R&B legends who were the worst sex addicts. What if the greatest love songs ever written were born from lives filled with chaos, contradiction, and hidden struggle? Behind the smooth vocals and timeless melodies of R&B legends lies a reality rarely discussed. One where fame amplified desire, blurred boundaries, and reshaped personal choices forever. These artists didn't just sing about passion. Many lived it at a cost that followed them long after the spotlight faded. Tonight, Black Excellence Legends pulls back the curtain, not to cancel icons, but to confront uncomfortable truths. Watch closely, listen carefully, and when the story unfolds, ask yourself, does talent excuse behavior? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let the conversation begin. Ray Charles. Ray Charles is remembered as one of the most transformative figures in American music history. Blind from the age of 7, he reshaped rhythm and blues by fusing gospel, jazz, blues, and soul, laying the foundation for modern R&B. His career spanned more than 5 decades, earning him 17 Grammy Awards, induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a legacy that few artists can rival. On stage, Ray Charles was discipline, brilliance, and emotional control. Off stage, his personal life told a far more complicated story. Charles married twice, first to Eileen Williams in 1951, a union that lasted barely a year, and later to Della Beatrice Robinson, whom he married in 1955. That second marriage endured for more than 2 decades and produced 3 children, yet it was persistently strained. During those years, Ray Charles maintained multiple long-term relationships with other women, many of whom were connected to his touring life and music circle. By the time of his death in 2004, he was the acknowledged father of 12 children with 10 different women, a fact confirmed through estate records and legal proceedings, not rumor. Biographers and psychologists have often debated the causes behind this pattern. Some suggest that constant touring, celebrity access, and emotional isolation contributed to compulsive relationship behavior, while others point to the absence of early family stability after his mother's death. Importantly, Ray Charles was never formally diagnosed with sex addiction, and responsible accounts frame his behavior as chronic infidelity rather than a medical condition. The consequences surfaced most clearly after his passing. Despite leaving a structured estate plan, disputes among his children erupted, exposing unresolved tensions that fame and fortune could not repair. Ray Charles gave the world timeless music, but his private life remains a reminder that artistic genius does not guarantee emotional order. His story is not one of scandal alone, but of a man who mastered sound while struggling to master himself. Barry White. Barry White was more than a singer. He was an atmosphere. With a voice that felt almost subterranean, he became the global symbol of romance in the 1970s, crafting slow-burning hits that defined intimacy for an entire generation. As the creative force behind Love Unlimited and a chart-topping solo artist, White sold over 100 million records worldwide, cementing his place as one of the most commercially successful R&B figures of his era. Yet behind the velvet voice was a personal life shaped by contradictions. White married twice, most notably to Glodine James, a member of Love Unlimited, whom he wed in 1974. Publicly, the marriage appeared stable and enduring, lasting nearly 3 decades. Privately, however, the relationship was marked by prolonged emotional distance and repeated infidelity. Court records and family confirmations later revealed that Barry White fathered 9 children with multiple women, several of whom were born during his marriage. These facts were not tabloid inventions, but surfaced through legal documentation following his death. Unlike artists whose personal chaos erupted into public scandal, Barry White maintained strict control over his public image. Friends and collaborators described him as deeply invested in being perceived as the ultimate lover, an identity that extended beyond music into his personal choices. Some psychologists and biographers have speculated that the pressure to embody this persona may have reinforced unhealthy relationship patterns, though White was never medically diagnosed with sex addiction. When he died in 2003 at the age of 58, the consequences of a fragmented private life became unavoidable. His children entered prolonged legal disputes over his estate, exposing emotional rifts that fame had masked but never resolved. Barry White left behind a catalog of love songs that still echo through popular culture. Yet his life illustrates how a carefully constructed image can become a burden when the line between performance and reality disappears. Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes stood at a rare intersection of artistic authority and mainstream recognition. As a pioneering soul composer, producer, and performer, he reshaped the sound of American music in the late 1960s and early 1970s. His work on Shaft earned him both an Academy Award and a Grammy, making him one of the first Black composers to achieve that level of crossover success. On stage and in the studio, Hayes was meticulous, commanding, and visionary. In his private life, stability proved far more elusive. Hayes married 4 times, beginning with Emily Ruth Watson in 1965, a relationship that dissolved amid revelations of extramarital children. Subsequent marriages followed a similar pattern: intense beginnings, rapid deterioration, and emotional fallout. By verified accounts, Isaac Hayes fathered at least 12 children, several born outside his marriages. Some of these children reported limited or no contact with him during their upbringing, a claim supported by later interviews in estate proceedings rather than speculation. Observers have often framed Hayes's personal choices within the context of relentless professional pressure. During the peak of his career, he balanced recording, touring, film scoring, and acting, rarely stepping away from public demand. Psychologists cited in biographies have suggested that romantic entanglements may have functioned as a coping mechanism for stress and identity strain. But there is no confirmed diagnosis of compulsive sexual behavior in his medical history. After Hayes's sudden death in 2008 at age 65, unresolved family dynamics came sharply into focus. Disputes over inheritance and recognition emerged among his children, reinforcing a narrative of emotional distance that success had failed to bridge. Isaac Hayes remains a towering figure in soul music, yet his life story underscores a recurring truth of fame. Creative power and personal harmony do not always rise together, and momentum, once unchecked, can quietly fracture the bonds that matter most. Al Green. Al Green occupies a singular place in American music. His silky tenor defined soul music in the early 1970s, producing classics like Let's Stay Together and Tired of Being Alone. With multiple Grammy Awards and a lasting influence on R&B and gospel, Green built a reputation rooted in tenderness and spiritual longing. Yet his private life followed a far darker and more turbulent path, marked by emotional volatility and destructive relationships. The most pivotal moment came in 1974 when Mary Woodson, a woman with whom Green had a secret relationship, attacked him in his home by pouring boiling water over his body while he was showering. Green survived with severe burns. Hours later, Woodson died by suicide in the same house. The incident was widely reported, confirmed by police records, and permanently altered Green's life. The public image of a romantic soul singer collided with the reality of chaos and emotional instability behind closed doors. In the years that followed, Green turned toward religion, becoming an ordained pastor. However, his personal struggles did not disappear. His marriage to Shirley Kiles ended in 1983 after she accused him of physical and emotional abuse, allegations that became part of court proceedings and interviews. Green admitted to infidelity during the marriage and acknowledged having children with other women. These were not rumors, but statements made under legal and public scrutiny. While some commentators have speculated about compulsive behavior, Al Green has never been formally diagnosed with sex addiction, and responsible accounts avoid medical labels. What is clear is a pattern of poor boundaries and unresolved emotional conflict. Al Green's story is one of contrast. Sacred music born from pain, redemption pursued but never fully secured, and a legacy that remains musically pure even as his personal life resisted harmony. R. Kelly, after decades of investigations in civil lawsuits, the full scope of the crimes came into legal focus. In 2021, R. Kelly was convicted in federal court on charges including sex trafficking, racketeering, and exploitation of minors. In 2022, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison, followed by additional sentences in separate cases. These convictions were based on verified evidence, not speculation or media exaggeration. Mental health professionals cited during the trial discussed behavioral patterns consistent with coercive control, but no diagnosis was used to excuse or redefine the crimes. The court treated them as deliberate, sustained criminal acts. R. Kelly's case represents a turning point in entertainment history, where fame no longer shielded abuse. His story is not one of personal scandal, but of accountability, where talent, once celebrated, became irrelevant in the face of proven harm. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was one of the most influential voices in American music, a pioneer who bridged gospel, soul, and pop at a time when racial barriers were still rigid. With a smooth tenor and sharp business instincts, he built a career that included chart-dominating hits, ownership stakes in his recordings, and a rare level of creative control for a Black artist in the early 1960s. By his early 30s, Cooke was not only a star, but a symbol of cultural progress. Privately, however, his life was defined by constant movement and instability. Cooke married twice, first to Dolores Mohawk and later to Barbara Campbell, with whom he had children. Despite the appearance of domestic life, his touring schedule and celebrity status were accompanied by frequent extramarital relationships, a pattern widely documented by biographers and contemporaries. These choices were often described not as secrecy, but as recklessness, an attitude shaped by sudden fame and a sense of invulnerability. That recklessness culminated on December 11, 1964, when Cooke was shot and killed at a Los Angeles motel at the age of 33. He had checked in with a woman he had met earlier that night, not his wife. The motel manager claimed self-defense, stating Cooke was aggressive and disoriented. The case was quickly ruled a justifiable homicide. Yet the circumstances, missing personal items, conflicting testimonies, and the speed of the investigation sparked lasting public doubt. No definitive evidence ever overturned the official ruling, but questions have never fully faded. Sam Cooke's death froze his legacy in time. He left behind unfinished ambitions, both artistic and social, and a cautionary tale of how unchecked confidence can blur judgment. His music remains joyful and defiant, even as his final chapter remains unresolved. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was not just a singer, he was an emotional interpreter of an era. With albums like What's Going On and Let's Get It On, he transformed soul music into a vehicle for intimacy, social reflection, and vulnerability. His voice carried warmth and tension in equal measure, mirroring a life defined by contradiction. Publicly admired, privately tormented, Gaye struggled to reconcile success with inner unrest. His marriage to Anna Gordy, sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy, initially strengthened his career, but soon became a source of pressure. As expectations mounted, Gaye sought escape through relationships outside the marriage. The most controversial involved Janice Hunter, who was 17 years old when their relationship began in the early 1970s. Though legal at the time in California, the age gap and public nature of the affair drew criticism and intensified marital conflict. The eventual divorce in 1977 became one of the most financially damaging in music history, leaving Gaye deeply in debt. Gaye later married Hunter and had children, but stability remained elusive. Substance abuse, paranoia, and emotional volatility escalated, documented in interviews and court records. Friends described him as increasingly withdrawn, torn between spiritual longing and self-destructive impulses. His music during this period grew darker, reflecting personal fragmentation rather than romantic fantasy. The tragedy reached its peak on April 1, 1984, when Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father during a domestic dispute, just one day before his 45th birthday. The incident shocked the world and underscored the depth of unresolved family and psychological conflict that surrounded him. Marvin Gaye's legacy is inseparable from his pain. He gave voice to love, fear, and doubt with unmatched honesty, leaving behind art that continues to resonate precisely because it was born from struggle, not control. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is widely regarded as one of the greatest musical geniuses of the modern era. Blind since infancy, he signed with Motown as a child prodigy and evolved into a singular creative force, mastering multiple instruments and reshaping pop, soul, and R&B. His catalog includes landmark albums such as Songs in the Key of Life, and his achievements include 25 Grammy Awards, making him one of the most decorated artists in history. While his professional discipline was unquestioned, Stevie Wonder's personal life unfolded with far less structure. He married 3 times and became the father of 9 children with 5 different women, a fact publicly acknowledged through interviews and family records. His first marriage, to singer-songwriter Syreeta Wright in 1970, ended after less than 2 years, though the two remained creatively connected. In the years that followed, Wonder maintained several long-term relationships that overlapped in time, resulting in children born during different phases of his career. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, his marriage to fashion designer Kai Millard drew media attention when it ended in a prolonged divorce involving custody and financial disputes. Soon after, Wonder married Tamika Bracey, with whom he has 2 children. Throughout these transitions, he avoided public scandal, rarely engaging with tabloids or legal drama beyond necessary court proceedings. Commentators have occasionally questioned whether fame insulated Wonder from conventional boundaries in relationships, but there is no record of criminal behavior or medical diagnosis tied to his personal choices. Instead, his life reflects a pattern common among long-tenured global stars: constant movement, overlapping emotional commitments, and difficulty maintaining traditional domestic stability. Stevie Wonder's legacy remains overwhelmingly defined by innovation, optimism, and musical excellence. His private life, complex but largely non-destructive, illustrates how even extraordinary talent does not simplify human relationships. It only magnifies their consequences. Bobby Womack. Bobby Womack was one of soul music's most gifted yet troubled figures. As a songwriter, guitarist, and vocalist, he contributed to some of the most enduring records of the 1960s and 1970s, both as a solo artist and collaborator. His work blended raw emotion with street-level honesty, giving his music an intensity that felt lived rather than performed. The defining rupture in Womack's personal life came in 1965, following the death of his close friend and mentor, Sam Cooke. Just 77 days after Cooke's funeral, Womack married Cooke's widow, Barbara Campbell. The decision shocked the music community and permanently altered his public image. The marriage itself was unstable and short-lived, ending amid revelations that Womack had engaged in an inappropriate relationship with Barbara's teenage daughter. The fallout was severe, involving violence, public condemnation, and professional isolation. In the years that followed, Womack's personal life remained turbulent. He fathered children with multiple women and struggled to establish consistent family bonds. Even after remarrying and attempting stability, tragedy continued to shadow him. 2 of his sons died young, one from drug-related causes and another by suicide, losses that Womack later described as unbearable emotional blows. Unlike many peers, Bobby Womack openly acknowledged his mistakes in interviews, framing his actions as failures of judgment rather than rebellion. He battled addiction, health problems, and declining visibility before experiencing a brief career resurgence late in life. When he died in 2014 at age 70, Womack left behind a catalog revered for its honesty and pain. His life stands as a stark example of how unresolved grief and blurred boundaries can dismantle talent from within, even as the music endures long after the damage is done. James Brown. James Brown earned the title the Godfather of Soul through unmatched discipline, innovation, and intensity. His influence stretched across soul, funk, hip-hop, and modern pop, with a career spanning more than 50 years and producing dozens of hit records. On stage, Brown demanded perfection. His band rehearsed relentlessly, his performances were militarily precise, and his authority was unquestioned. Off-stage, however, control often turned into conflict. Brown married 4 times and fathered at least 9 children with multiple women, a fact established through family records and estate proceedings. His first marriage collapsed as his fame surged, leaving his family emotionally distant while his career accelerated. Later relationships followed a similar pattern: brief stability followed by estrangement, distrust, and volatility. The most troubling period occurred during his marriage to Adrienne Rodriguez in the 1980s, when Brown faced documented arrests for domestic violence, incidents confirmed by court records rather than rumor. Unlike artists whose excesses remain private, Brown's struggles unfolded publicly. Legal troubles, substance abuse, and erratic behavior damaged his reputation, even as his musical influence continued to grow. Friends and collaborators described him as deeply insecure beneath his commanding persona, driven by fear of losing relevance and authority. Still, no formal diagnosis was ever used to explain or excuse his actions, and the legal system treated them as personal responsibility. After Brown's death in 2006 at age 73, unresolved personal matters resurfaced. Questions surrounding the legality of his final marriage triggered years of estate disputes, pitting family members against one another and prolonging conflict beyond his lifetime. James Brown left behind a revolutionary musical legacy, but also a cautionary portrait of how power, when left unchecked, can fracture the very life it was meant to protect. Rick James. Rick James built his career on defiance. With his flamboyant style, aggressive funk sound, and unapologetic persona, he embodied rebellion during the late 1970s and early 1980s. Hits like Super Freak made him a cultural force, while his image projected total freedom. No rules, no restraint, no apologies. That image, however, eventually consumed him. James's personal life mirrored his public persona. His relationships were intense, unstable, and frequently destructive. He married briefly early in his career, then later wed Tanya Hijazi, a relationship that drew significant legal attention. In 1991, James and Hijazi were arrested and later convicted for kidnapping and assaulting a woman, a case supported by testimony and physical evidence. James served time in prison, marking a sharp collapse from his former superstar status. Throughout his career, James fathered children with different women and maintained overlapping relationships, rarely separating personal boundaries from excess. Substance abuse became central to his life, eroding both his health and reliability. Unlike peers who eventually retreated from chaos, James leaned into it, openly admitting that indulgence had become part of his identity rather than an escape. By the time of his death in 2004, at age 56, his body was severely weakened by years of addiction and physical strain. Afterward, disputes involving his estate and children reflected the instability he never resolved in life. Rick James remains an icon of funk, but his story is inseparable from the price of excess. A life lived loudly, burned quickly, and ended before reflection could take hold. Donna Summer. Donna Summer was universally crowned the Queen of Disco, a title earned through innovation, risk-taking, and extraordinary commercial success. Rising to prominence in the mid-1970s, she dominated global charts with groundbreaking records that blended electronic production, sensual vocals, and theatrical storytelling. With 5 Grammy Awards and millions of albums sold worldwide, Summer became one of the most influential female artists of her generation, reshaping how women were perceived in popular music. Behind the spotlight, however, her personal life was far more restrained than her public image suggested. Donna Summer married twice before finding long-term stability. Her first marriage to Austrian actor Helmut Sommer ended after several years, marked by cultural differences and professional strain. During her ascent in the disco era, she faced intense public scrutiny, often reduced to a sexualized image that conflicted with her private values. Friends and interviews later revealed that she struggled deeply with this disconnect, feeling trapped by expectations attached to her fame. In 1980, Summer married songwriter Bruce Sudano, a partnership that endured for over 3 decades and produced 2 children. This period marked a turning point toward emotional grounding and personal balance. She also became more vocal about her faith, which shaped her later career choices and distanced her from the excesses often associated with the disco era. While tabloids occasionally speculated about her romantic life, no verified record supports claims of chronic infidelity or compulsive behavior. Instead, Donna Summer's story reflects the cost of fame imposed from the outside rather than chaos generated from within. When she passed away in 2012 at age 63, she left behind not scandal, but a legacy of resilience, an artist who survived being misunderstood while redefining sound, freedom, and female power in popular music. Usher. Usher Raymond IV emerged in the late 1990s as one of the defining voices of modern R&B. With smooth vocals, elite choreography, and crossover appeal, he became a global star whose albums shaped mainstream pop culture. His 2004 release, Confessions, sold over 20 million copies worldwide, cementing his status as a generational icon and redefining how personal storytelling could drive commercial success. Unlike many artists, Usher openly wove his personal experiences into his music. Themes of temptation, regret, and accountability were central to his work, especially during periods of public scrutiny. His relationships frequently attracted attention, beginning with his highly publicized romance with TLC's Chili, which ended amid confirmed infidelity. Later, his marriage to stylist Tamika Foster resulted in 2 children, but dissolved after a contentious divorce involving custody disputes and public accusations. In 2017, Usher faced civil lawsuits alleging failure to disclose a sexually transmitted infection. While the cases resulted in settlements rather than criminal convictions, they significantly impacted his public image and sparked broader discussions about responsibility, transparency, and privacy for celebrities. Usher addressed the situation carefully, acknowledging personal mistakes without escalating public conflict. Despite setbacks, Usher maintained professional focus, continuing to perform, mentor younger artists, and refine his career beyond peak stardom. He is now a father of 4 children and has spoken about prioritizing stability and growth over image. Usher's story is not one of collapse, but of navigation, an artist learning in real time how fame amplifies every choice. His legacy rests not only on success, but on the willingness to confront consequence without surrendering to it. Ronald Isley. Ronald Isley stands as one of the rare figures in popular music whose career spans more than 6 decades without fading into irrelevance. As the lead singer of the Isley Brothers, he helped shape multiple eras of R&B, soul, funk, and later hip-hop influenced contemporary music. His voice evolved from youthful exuberance in the 1950s to refined sensuality in later decades, allowing him to remain culturally relevant long after many peers retired. While his professional life reflected endurance and reinvention, Isley's personal life drew attention for its complexity rather than scandal. He married 3 times and became a father to several children across different stages of his life. Public interest intensified in the early 2000s when he married singer and actress Candy Johnson, who was significantly younger than him. The age gap sparked debate and media speculation, but the relationship itself remained largely free of public controversy or legal conflict. Earlier marriages ended quietly, without the courtroom drama or public accusations that marked the lives of many contemporaries. Isley maintained a relatively controlled private presence, even during periods of intense fame. His most serious personal challenge came not from relationships, but from legal and health issues, including a well-documented prison sentence for tax evasion in the mid-2000s, which temporarily halted his career. After his release, Isley returned to music with renewed focus, collaborating with younger artists and reframing himself as an elder statesman rather than a nostalgic act. His marriage endured, and he continued performing well into his 80s. Ronald Isley's story is not defined by excess or implosion, but by continuity. His life illustrates how longevity and fame demands adaptation, restraint, and acceptance of scrutiny, especially when personal choices intersect with public curiosity rather than public damage. Wilson Pickett. Wilson Pickett was a force of nature in soul music. Known for his electrifying delivery and visceral emotion, he brought an almost confrontational intensity to recordings like In the Midnight Hour and Mustang Sally. His voice did not soothe, it commanded. That same intensity fueled his success, but it also shaped a personal life marked by instability. Pickett married multiple times and fathered children with more than one woman, but maintaining long-term domestic stability proved difficult. His touring lifestyle and volatile temperament often spilled into his private relationships. By the late 1970s and 1980s, reports of aggressive behavior became more frequent, culminating in documented arrests for assault, including a widely reported 1987 incident involving violence toward a partner. These were not rumors, but matters handled through the legal system. Unlike artists who insulated themselves from consequence, Pickett faced the erosion of his career momentum as legal trouble and unpredictable behavior limited recording opportunities. Friends and collaborators described him as deeply emotional and impulsive, struggling to balance artistic fire with personal responsibility. Yet even amid decline, his musical contributions remained respected, and his recordings continued to influence future generations of performers. After his death in 2006 at age 64, unresolved family matters resurfaced, including disputes involving his estate and children. These conflicts underscored the lingering effects of a life lived at maximum intensity, where emotional expression often outpaced emotional management. Wilson Pickett's legacy is inseparable from his volatility. He embodied the raw edge of soul music, proving that passion can elevate art, but when left unchecked, it can also consume the person behind the voice. Otis Redding. Otis Redding's career burned brightly and briefly, leaving a legacy that far exceeded its length. Emerging from Georgia in the early 1960s, Redding became one of the defining voices of Southern soul, known for his raw delivery, emotional honesty, and commanding stage presence. Songs like Try a Little Tenderness and Sittin' On the Dock of the Bay showcased an artist who could balance vulnerability with power, helping bridge soul music to a wider, global audience. Despite his public image as a devoted family man, Redding's private life was shaped by the pressures of relentless touring and sudden fame. He married Zelma Atwood in 1961, and together they had 3 children. Yet biographers and close associates have documented that life on the road brought frequent temptations and extramarital relationships, a pattern not uncommon among touring artists of the era. These choices remained largely hidden from public view during his lifetime, surfacing more clearly only after his death. The turning point came on December 10th, 1967, when Redding died at just 26 years old in a plane crash near Madison, Wisconsin. The tragedy shocked the music world and abruptly ended a career that many believe was still evolving toward greater artistic depth. In the aftermath, Zelma Redding discovered legal documentation confirming the existence of a child born to another woman, revealing unresolved complexities in her husband's private life. Otis Redding left behind more than unanswered questions. His music gained renewed significance after his death, with The Dock of the Bay becoming his first and only #1 hit. His story reflects the collision of youth, fame, and responsibility. A reminder that even the most soulful voices can leave behind silence where clarity never had time to form. Babyface. Kenneth "Babyface" Edmonds is often described as the sound behind modern R&B. As a songwriter, producer, and performer, he shaped the emotional language of popular music from the late 1980s onward, crafting hits for artists such as Whitney Houston, Toni Braxton, and Boyz II Men. His work earned him multiple Grammy Awards and positioned him as a quiet architect of love songs that defined an era. Unlike many stars, Babyface maintained a relatively low-profile public persona, allowing his work to speak louder than his image. Privately, however, his romantic life was not without turbulence. He married twice and became a father, but his long-term marriage to Tracy Edmonds ended amid confirmed reports of infidelity. The separation drew attention because it contrasted sharply with the emotional sincerity he projected through his music. Following the divorce, Babyface faced increased scrutiny as rumors and speculation followed him into later relationships. While he remarried and continued his career successfully, public perceptions shifted slightly, reframing him not just as a romantic storyteller, but as a man navigating the same contradictions he often wrote about. Importantly, there is no verified record of criminal behavior or diagnosed compulsive disorder associated with his personal life, only patterns of strained relationships under public pressure. In recent years, Babyface has spoken more openly about growth, accountability, and maturity, emphasizing collaboration and mentorship over personal spotlight. His story is one of contrast rather than collapse, an artist who mastered the language of love professionally while learning, slowly and publicly, how difficult that language can be to live by. Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie is one of the most recognizable figures in modern popular music, a songwriter and performer whose melodies crossed borders, generations, and genres. Rising to fame with the Commodores before launching a massively successful solo career, Richie delivered global anthems such as Hello, All Night Long, and Say You, Say Me. His success brought awards, chart dominance, and international visibility rarely matched by his peers. Behind this polished public image, Richie's personal life unfolded with far less ease. He married his first wife, Brenda Harvey, in 1975. Their relationship ended dramatically in 1988 after Harvey discovered Richie with another woman, an incident that became widely reported and symbolized the breakdown of the marriage. Richie later married Diane Alexander, with whom he had 2 children, but that union also ended in divorce in 2004. Alexander publicly cited emotional distance and repeated infidelity as central reasons for the separation. As a father, Richie faced challenges balancing fame and family. His adopted daughter, Nicole Richie, struggled publicly with substance abuse and health issues in the early 2000s, a period Richie later described as emotionally painful and humbling. These experiences forced him to reassess priorities as his career slowed from its peak intensity. Unlike artists whose lives unraveled completely, Richie gradually stepped back from chaos rather than escalating it. He reduced touring, focused on parenting, and later re-emerged as a mentor figure through television and collaborations. While tabloids often framed his romantic history as excessive, there is no record of criminal conduct or diagnosed behavioral disorder associated with his personal life. Lionel Richie's story is one of recalibration. His music celebrated connection and longing, while his private life revealed the difficulty of sustaining those ideals under global fame. The endurance of his career reflects not perfection, but the ability to adapt after missteps, rather than be defined by them. Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson helped define the sound and spirit of Motown. As a singer, songwriter, and executive, he shaped an era of American music with poetic lyricism and emotional restraint. Songs like Tears of a Clown, Tracks of My Tears, and Cruisin' carried vulnerability wrapped in elegance, establishing Robinson as one of the most refined voices in soul music. For decades, Robinson's public image was one of stability and professionalism. He married Claudette Rogers, a fellow member of the Miracles, in 1959, and together they became a model couple within Motown's inner circle. That image fractured in the mid-1980s when Robinson admitted to having an extramarital affair that resulted in a child. The revelation ended their 27-year marriage and surprised fans who associated him with emotional discipline rather than excess. Robinson later acknowledged that fame, accessibility, and long separations during touring eroded boundaries he once believed were firm. He has spoken openly in later interviews about regret and accountability, framing his actions as moral failures rather than rebellion or entitlement. Unlike many contemporaries, Robinson addressed the consequences directly, without attempting to recast the narrative as misunderstanding or media distortion. In the years following his divorce, Robinson rebuilt his personal life and continued performing, though with a quieter presence. His later work emphasized reflection rather than romance, mirroring his own process of reconciliation with past choices. Importantly, there are no verified allegations of criminal behavior or medical diagnoses linked to his relationships. Smokey Robinson's legacy rests on emotional honesty in art, even if his life occasionally contradicted that ideal. His story illustrates that restraint can falter, but acknowledgement and growth can preserve dignity long after the music fades. Chris Brown. Chris Brown emerged in the mid-2000s as a prodigious talent, blending R&B vocals with elite dance ability and pop appeal. His early success positioned him as a generational star, earning chart-topping albums, industry awards, and global recognition before the age of 20. However, his rise was accompanied by personal choices that repeatedly placed his career under scrutiny. The defining rupture occurred in 2009, when Brown was arrested and later pleaded guilty to felony assault against fellow artist Rihanna. The incident was supported by photographic evidence, police reports, and court proceedings, resulting in probation and mandatory counseling. The case permanently altered public perception, transforming Brown from teen idol to a figure associated with volatility and violence. In the years that followed, his personal life remained unstable. Brown engaged in overlapping relationships and became the father of 3 children with 3 different women, revelations that often surfaced amid breakups rather than celebrations. His relationship with model Karrueche Tran ended after it was confirmed that he had fathered a child with another woman, reinforcing a pattern of emotional inconsistency rather than private resolution. Beyond romantic relationships, Brown faced additional legal issues, including probation violations and arrests related to altercations, though not all resulted in convictions. Despite these setbacks, he continued to release commercially successful music, illustrating the tension between artistic demand and personal accountability. Importantly, no formal medical diagnosis has been used to explain Brown's behavior, and courts treated incidents as matters of personal responsibility. Chris Brown's story remains unresolved, defined by extraordinary ability on one side and repeated self-sabotage on the other. His career endures, but always under the shadow of choices that fame could not erase. Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu occupies a distinct space in modern music as the spiritual architect of neo-soul. Emerging in the late 1990s, she built a career rooted in individuality, introspection, and resistance to commercial formulas. Her music rejected polish in favor of authenticity, and her public persona reflected the same philosophy: unfiltered, unconventional, and deeply personal. Unlike many artists, Badu never married, but she became the mother of 3 children with 3 different artists: Andre 3000, the DOC, and J Electronica. Each relationship unfolded publicly, not through scandal, but through cultural conversation. Over time, a narrative known as the Badu effect emerged, suggesting that men romantically involved with her experienced emotional or creative disruption afterward. While widely discussed in pop culture, this idea remains speculative and symbolic rather than factual. Badu's romantic history has often been misunderstood as instability, when in reality it reflects a rejection of traditional structures rather than secrecy or deceit. She has consistently emphasized emotional honesty, even when it complicates relationships. Former partners have described her as intense and transformative, not manipulative or destructive. Crucially, there is no record of criminal conduct, abuse, or diagnosed compulsive behavior associated with Badu's personal life. Her choices exist outside conventional expectations, but they have been openly acknowledged rather than concealed. She maintains strong relationships with her children and has spoken publicly about co-parenting and accountability. Erykah Badu's life challenges the idea that nonconformity equals disorder. Her legacy is one of autonomy, an artist who lived as she created, accepting the complexity of freedom without apologizing for refusing to fit the mold. These stories leave us with more questions than answers. Were these legends victims of fame's pressure or architects of their own downfall? Can we separate art from the artist, or do personal choices forever shape the legacy we celebrate? There is no simple conclusion, only perspective. At Black Excellence Legends, we believe real excellence includes truth, not silence. Now it's your turn. Who do you think crossed the line, and who deserves deeper understanding? Should history remember the music alone, or the full human story behind it? Share your honest opinion in the comments, subscribe, and keep this conversation alive.